Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast Always Tell Me Dots, a podcast about Star Wars Unlimited. I am Marcus, and you can also find me online as Faluin. And with me today is Magnus. You can find him online as Dragonfly. First of all, we want to thank you all for listening to the first episode and giving us a lot of shares and good luck wishes. That felt like a warm hug to us. Thank you so much for that. And second of all, we have also put up a Discord server. You can find a link to that in the show notes, and we will be happy if you join in there. And you can come with feedback and ideas, and you can talk to us, or if you have anything you want us to look into or whatever. So just join the Discord server. Yeah. All right, Magnus, how are we doing today?
I'm great, actually. It's fun to be here and talk about Star Wars Unlimited.
Yes.
It's always looking forward to doing this podcast with you.
It is fun.
Super fun. Yeah.
It's fun to meet up in the evening and talk about Star Wars Unlimited when you have been focusing on work all day.
Yeah, it is. Just think of something else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not so serious.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
What have you been up to the last week until since we recorded last episode?
Well, since we recorded last time, I've actually I played a tournament in Växjö, Sweden. I guess we haven't said that, but I guess you can tell from our accents, but we're both from southern part of Sweden.
We are Swedes.
So that's where we're gonna be playing the most, I think.
True.
But so I went to Växjö with some of the guys from around where I live, and I actually managed to take second place in that tournament.
Yeah, that was really good.
Really nice. Yeah,
that was. Really
it was 20 players, I think, and it was a super nice store called Nexus. Not a big store, but really cozy and a nice store. Yeah. So and a nice store owner who really made us feel really welcome. All of us.
That's good.
So it was really nice. Yeah, super good. So it was a 5-round Swiss tournament, no top cut at all, and so we played our 5 rounds, and after the 5 rounds, we were actually 5 players on 4 wins and 1 loss.
Oh wow!
So it was a bit of a.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my second place, I'm super happy with that. The winner was an Anakin Blue player, Adam. I'm so humble from the Nordic Takedown podcast.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to their podcast, go and do that. It's a super nice podcast. Yeah. Can really recommend it.
Really?
I didn't face him in the tournament. Okay. It would have been a fun like top 4 or top 8 if we would have faced, but. Instead, I did face a Maul Green, started the day. I won that game. I played another Anakin Blue deck, and I won that game as well. Yeah. Then I lost against a Ray Red.
Oh, yes.
Won the first game, but then I lost the 2 consecutive games. I haven't.
Ray has a special place in my heart.
Forgot to tell you guys what I played. I played Palpatine Cunning, so Palpatine Yellow.
Yeah.
One of my favorite leaders in this game. Probably the leader I have played the most. I always come back to Palpatine. I don't know really know why, but he's super fun to play. So it's like always when the meta changes or something, I always go back to Palpatine. I wonder if I can play Palpatine now.
And I hate having it as an opponent because it's so hard to play against, especially for me that doesn't know the game very well. All right.
Was super impressed by the Ray Red player. I won the first game quite easy, but then he after sideboarding he really changed his deck completely and went like super aggro against me and won the next 2 games. That was really fun to see. Tight games, but he took them down.
Did he play with Tarkentown as a base?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did. That's it's a good deck.
Yeah.
Then I faced a Bosk green. I won that game, and then an Anakin green, and I also won that.
Another
so that
Anakin.
was my
All right.
but the green base this time. So
all right. Interesting.
super fun. All the players were really nice, and the atmosphere was great. So
Yep.
I can recommend going to if you're ever in Växjö, go visit the Nexus store.
All right.
And maybe
Good
play
tip.
a tournament something.
Good tip. We need to dive into at some point. We need to dive into what Swiss is and what Top Cut is, and because those are words. I was like, what? I kind of know what it is, but it's like
we probably should
we'll go back to
make
that at
an
some
episode
point.
on that.
Yeah.
For
How
your sake, we should do that. That's right.
Yeah, how tournament works.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so you have been at
We've
tournament.
also that's then we also did a Sparkle Rebellion draft.
We did
last week.
Yes.
And both of us.
Yeah, in our local store.
Guys, you guys probably seen the episode name by now, so
so you know what happened.
I managed to win the draft, and Marcus unfortunately
I managed to
came
take the last place.
Last place, yeah. So,
but go figures. The one that experienced wins, and the one that just started gets to say last place. It would be.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I know my place.
To be fair, it's your second draft overall, and you've never drafted Sparkle Rebellion.
True. And that is
Star Wars. So. Yep.
And that's interesting because that's why we thought we talk about this today, because I thought that I had made like 4 or 5 drafts before, but you were like, no, those were sealed because those were the pre-releases of the set 3s. And I was like, oh, so what is the difference between sealed and draft then? And then I understood. But we were 8 people doing the draft, and so that was really nice. And you said, I think you said at some point that is like a sweet spot for making a draft.
Yeah, it is, because you all get 3 booster packs each, so 8 people makes a complete display of boosters.
Yeah.
So it's super. It's an optimal number to have in a pod. Of a draft, 8 players.
That's perfect.
So maybe before we get into how we did in the draft and all of that, maybe we should just go through what is drafting.
Yeah.
What are we talking about when we say draft?
Exactly.
What does that mean? So to start, draft is a limited format in a lot of card games, but when we talk Star Wars Unlimited, it's of course a limited format here as well. Both draft and sealed are limited formats, and when we talk limited, the name comes from when you make your deck in a limited format, you have a limited pool of cards. If you compare to making a constructed deck or a premier deck in Star Wars Unlimited. So that's why we call it limited.
I didn't know that. I thought it was like the other way around, that when you do a premiere, you are limited to what rules you're using and what cards you can use. Otherwise, it's just free. You can pick whatever cards you can in a deck. But I get it now. It's more, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So when we talk drafting, every player starts with 3 boosters from the desired set. So for us, we had Sparkle Rebellion boosters, 3. Each, and we all start with opening up the packs and removing the leader and the base without looking at the cards, and just after you've done it a few times, you kind of get how to do it. Super easy, and it's not a problem at all.
I'm always a little bit nervous when fiddling with it. It's like, oh, I can't go and look at the cards.
Yeah, you can learn, just open up the pack and take out leaders and like close the pack again, and so you don't have to take out all the cards. It's just ask someone who's done it before if you are new, and they'll show you. It's super easy.
Yeah.
So we remove the leaders and the bases, and we put them in front of us. This is open information for everyone around the table to see which leaders you've picked from your boosters. And then we start by drafting the leaders, so to speak. So you start by choosing one of your 3 leaders, You keep that leader, and you take the other 2, and you pass it to the player to your right. Then you get 2 new leaders from your player to the left. He passes to you.
Yeah.
You get 2 leaders. You choose one of them, and you pass the last one to the right again. So you'll get a 3rd leader as well.
Yeah.
So you'll end up with 3 leaders that you can choose. When you do this, it's a good idea to look around and maybe see if you want to stay open if you can in a draft. What I mean by that is, like, it's not optimal to only have villainy leaders in the end. So if you see that your opponents to the left only have like villainy leaders, maybe you should save a heroic leader so that you don't only get villainy leaders and you're locked out of playing
How did we do with that, you and me?
Yeah, we didn't do that optimal because I got only villainy leaders.
Yeah, and I got only heroic.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not. It doesn't have to be a super bad idea. Just be aware of what you're doing. If it's your first draft, maybe try to get both sides so you can stay open when you start drafting. And then now when we have our leaders, it's still open information with the leaders, but then we start with the packs. So we take the first pack and we look through the pack. This is closed information, so you don't show the other players on the table. You pick one card and then you pass the rest of the pack to your left.
Yeah.
And then the table does that until there is no more cards in the pack. So you do that 14 times because it's 14 cards left in the pack after you remove the leader and the base. After you've done the first pack, you take the second pack. You do the same thing. Only difference is that you pass to your right. And then on the third pack, you pass to the left again. So you pass 2 times to the left and 1 time to the right. And that's how you draft.
Yeah.
You'll end up with 42 cards you've drafted, and your 3 leaders. You can choose any any common base to play with. You don't have to draft them or open them in your packs. You can choose any color of the common bases to pair with your leaders. After when you make your deck, and when you make the deck, you need to make a deck with at least 30 cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess that's how you draft.
Yeah. So what leaders did you end up with after the drafting?
Well, I ended up with actually 2 Director Krennic and 1 Grand Moff Tarkin.
So you really locked down
to choose from. I was, yes.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of Spark of Rebellion drafts. We did that very many, a lot of times when we started to play this game when it's released. So, in my opinion, I think Grand Moff Tarkin is probably the best leader to draft in Spark of Rebellion. If you can manage to draft a lot of Imperial units.
All right. Yeah.
If you don't know, his action is he has an action, you pay 1, and you can give an Imperial unit an experience token.
Yeah.
And on his flip side, when he's deployed on attack, you may give an experience token to another Imperial unit.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of Imperial units in your deck, he's super good in draft.
Yeah. Interesting. Did you?
And
yeah.
So what leaders did you have to choose from?
Yeah, so when I opened, I had Han Solo, the yellow one, and then I had 2 others I don't remember. I think I had Chewbacca and then a third one that I don't remember. But I ended up with Chewbacca, the yellow Han Solo, and Jyn Erso. So I was also locked into the heroic side and a lot of Jello, to be honest, on the leaders. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you picked a lot of yellow cards, and I mean, except for you haven't drafted that much. So
true.
Now in the future, you know that you might not have to go all in on one
Yeah,
color
yeah.
as you did.
Because that was my
Um,
my biggest mistake. I think there was that I focused too hard on one color, and I knew that I had heroics. I needed heroics, so I went for yellow and heroic yellow cards. I didn't
yeah,
think that I could like, oh, I can have a green base and then I can also have green cards or whatever. I kind of
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
that. So when you look at my deck list, there's only 2 cards that are not blue or not yellow and white. So there are just 2 cards that are actually also blue, which is a little bit weird.
Yeah, and we can forgot to say that we will link our deck lists in
Yeah.
the description. So if you wanna check them out while listening to this episode, just go to the description and you can find our deck list there.
Exactly.
And also, I think you said that I don't know why, but you drafted a Obi-Wan unit, but you didn't play him.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you
Yeah,
you
because
thought that wouldn't be good.
I usually play when we play our premiere at the local store. I play a lot of array, so a lot of white, blue, or so ray red or ray green or ray blue, and I always have Obi-Wan in that. So I was so happy when I got the card. I was like, yes, because I don't have the card. I use proxies when we play. So I got really happy and I took that card. And my first thought was like, it's so bad. It's a little bit of a shame that I can't use it in this draft because it's not yellow. So I put it to the side and I didn't use it. And then afterwards when we were talking, I was like, dude, I could totally use that.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? And also,
It would have been a good
it would have been really good because
addition to your deck.
yeah. Because if you look at my deck, the absolute biggest problem with my deck was that the most expensive card that I have in my deck is Vigilant Honor Guards, and it costs 5, and it's a 4/6 Sentinel. So I had nothing when we came up to like 6, 7, 8 resources. I had nothing.
Yeah.
So even if I was keeping up when we came up there, everybody just crushed me because I had nothing to use.
Well, you did after the first game at least.
I did.
Because I know we faced in the first game.
Yeah.
And I know I asked you after the first game, like, didn't you draw a legendary?
I did.
And you said, yeah.
Yeah.
I got this Avenger.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't you play that in your deck?
And it's like, yeah, but it's black. And you're like, yeah, but it's worth 11 resources because it's so good.
I guess that's one thing you might not really think about if you're new to drafting. That it's okay to go outside of your aspects sometimes for some cards, especially like the big bombs like Avenger or other legendaries could be really good to play, even if you have to play the penalty for not having black in your deck. And the other type of cards you usually could be wanting to put in your deck, even though you're not in that color, is removal cards. For instance, if you look in my deck, I'm playing green, black, red, but I have a Vanquish, a blue card, and I think that's quite okay to play for 7. It's a good way to remove. Maybe that if you play that Avenger, I can play my Vanquish to remove it for 7. That's okay for me.
For sure.
So that's something new you learned from this draft.
Absolutely.
You don't have to. First of all, you don't have to focus on one color as much as you did, and then it's okay to put in really good cards that's not in your colors as well.
Yeah, and I need to have a better ladder, like from the cheap cards that I can start with, and I need to have all the way up to like 7, 8 cost units, so I can actually also keep up in the end of the game. But I also,
and I mean that's one of the. I think that's one of the reasons Star Wars Unlimited is so good to draft is you can play all of the cards you draft. In a lot of games, a lot of card games, you draft cards. I've drafted a lot of Flesh and Blood, for instance. If you play there, you play different heroes, and say I play a wizard. If I draft a warrior card, I can't play it in my deck. It's completely dead.
okay.
But in this game, even if you like don't have a good draft and you don't really get your 30 cards, you can just put in extra cards that's not in your colors.
Yeah.
But because you can play them or you can resource them.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to draft this game.
Yeah.
I really like it.
I put in a lot of those non-colored cards because I had to like put in stuff, but in hindsight I could have put in some more blue cards and stuff.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
but
it
I
also
think maybe next time if we have the time time when we draft, maybe we should go. Maybe you should build your deck first, and then I'll take a look and see what cards you didn't put in and what I think, and maybe that will help you as well.
Like that, yeah. And I mean that's a way to learn. It's also like the leader. When we met in the first match, you and me, and then I used Han Solo with a blue base, and my deck didn't work at all with Han Solo. And also, it's for me who is really new to this, it's a super complicated leader to use because it's you can put down an extra resource so you get ahead of resources, but then in the end you need to take away the resource again. And it's like, so it's very messy for me to do that. So.
And I mean, I think it's a hard leader to use in draft as well.
Yeah.
Might be good. I haven't played Han Solo while drafting myself, but I can imagine it's kind of tough to use because you get rid of your cards from hand when you use his ability.
Yeah.
So it really has to help you a lot in the game.
Yeah.
To be worth doing it. And sometimes it might be if you can get out something really big and nasty before a round or two before. It could probably be really good, but I think you really need to have a plan if you want to play Han Solo.
Yeah. So I did that.
I think it's much better when you change to Jyn Erso instead.
Exactly,
right?
because my second match I switched from Han Solo to Jyn Erso, and what Jyn Erso does is that when she can use an action and a unit can attack and the defender get -1, -0, which means they don't do as much damage towards me. And actually, so in my second match, I met a Krennic green, and in my third one, I met a Leia yellow. And I could keep up way better with those when I had Jyn instead, because then I could match up in a better way, and my deck worked a little bit better. It didn't work apparently, but a little bit better, and it's also easier to play. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't talk about how to draft or anything before the draft. To just also make it a bit of a to see how you thought you should do, and now when we go through a little bit, I'm not the best drafter in this game, but I have a few tips and tricks, and it will be fun to see how you do in the next draft when you think a little bit more about those easy things to have in mind. But can you go through a bit? Did you have any sort of plan when you drafted, or did you just pick good cards?
I picked good cards because, as I said, I was focused a little bit too much on the yellow, and I was curious about yellow because I never played any yellow decks before. And what I was thinking is I got a lot of those cards that I hear a lot about and that I see a lot about that works in good decks, like Waylay and Bamboozle and First Shot and so on. So I as soon as I saw them, I took them. So I ended up with 12 events and only 11 ground units. So I had a lot of events, but it helped me. And also there was one card that I really had a lot of... I got a lot of value from it, and it was Disarm. And Disarm is that you give -4, -0 to an enemy unit for a phase. And all my opponents they were super annoyed with the card because I had 3 of it. So I just put it out, and then I bamboozled them and I waylay them, and they were super annoyed. But Disarm really worked for me well. And when we talked about it later, you and me, you were like, it's not such a good card. And I was like, shit.
It's not a card I look for when I draft.
Exactly.
But maybe you found something new that I should look into. But
maybe.
I usually want to put a unit on the board instead of playing disarm. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, if you can trade with it without your unit dying, maybe it
It
could
can be
be
worth it.
a good card.
Yeah.
Could be worth it.
I think that's a little
Um,
bit what I thought of, because I tried to get in pretty cheap units, so I could start like to get out units fairly fast, and then I thought that if I can give the opponent -4, I can hurt or kill their unit without mine getting killed. The problem I had was when the opponent's units getting stronger and bigger, I couldn't keep up because all my units were small, and then the -4
yeah.
didn't do the work. So, but yeah,
Okay. So when if I go through a little bit how I used
yeah,
to try to draft a few tips and tricks, I usually don't you don't want to choose your leader before you start drafting. You want to be open among the leaders you have
yeah,
in the start. That's a tip to think about the whole draft to stay open
yeah.
as long as possible. And what I mean by staying open is if you pick neutral cards, or for instance, I only had villainy leaders, so I knew I was playing a villainy
Yeah,
leader.
yeah.
So I started by picking only villainy cards, not paired with any type of color,
Mm-hmm.
unless I got a really good card.
Yeah.
Because if you pick a few just black cards and maybe you pick one really good green black,
Mm.
and then you get one really good red black, and then you kind of get the sense of what colors are going your way
Mm-hmm.
as while you do this, and what colors are the people to your left passing to you
Mm-hmm.
a lot. So that's one tip, to try to stay open as long as possible,
Yeah.
and not like already decide before you start drafting, I'm only going to draft yellow blue cards,
Like I did.
because yeah, but because that's could happen that a lot of the other players also are drafting yellow,
Yeah.
and
And they
it
take
ends
all the
up
good
like
cards.
maybe the 4 or 5 last picks in each round, you don't get any cards that can fit your deck
Yeah.
good with that like you want in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So try to stay open if you can.
Yeah.
For me, this draft to last week was kind of an easy pick for me.
Mm-hmm.
First pack, I got the choice of an overwhelming barrage.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best cards in the game, even when you play Premier,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super good in limited formats,
Mm.
because it's a very good removal spell that also you can it's if you don't know what overwhelming barrage is, it's a card that says give a friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase, then it deals damage equal to its power divided as you choose among any number of other units.
Yeah.
So first you can kill a bunch of units, and then your unit have +2/+2 for the phase, so he can
Mm.
attack with +2/+2. So
Yeah.
it's a super good card. So that was an easy pick for me, and because I have Tarkin as a leader,
Mm.
both Tarkin and Krennic are good leaders, so I could play both of them. But if I can choose, I would like to play Tarkin.
Mm.
So when I pick that green black, I'm gonna look for to see if I get past good green black cards.
Yeah.
As I said, after that I first picked the overwhelming barrage. The next like 2 or 3 picks, I think I picked only black cards.
Mm.
Even though there were green black good cards sent to me, but I could as well take the only black. Like I took a Viper Probe Droid or
Mm.
Snow Trooper Lieutenant. It's like
The only black
early
cards. Yeah.
early drops that only black, and will be good in either Krennic or Tarkin if I
Yeah.
choose.
Because Krennic
Uh,
is blue black,
he's
right?
blue,
Yeah.
yes. He's blue black.
Yeah.
So, but then as I picked more and more cards, it became quite obvious that it wasn't a problem for me to pick a lot of Imperial units, and I could stay in green.
Yeah.
It actually became so that I only picked 5 red-black cards outside of my green-black or only black cards, because I could pick so many. I didn't choose the other color. After the pack 1, I was certain I would play green black.
Green black. Okay.
But I don't think I chose the red until like the last pack.
All right.
Because I've picked I think I had like 1 blue black, and I had 1 red black, and then in the last pack I had to pick a few more red black, so I choose that as my second color.
So it was in the last pack you actually decided.
Yeah, I mean I've decided after the first pack I've decided to play Krennic.
Oh, okay.
Or sorry, I've decided to play Tarkin
because it's
Tarkin
a good leader in draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't chosen my other base yet.
All right.
I didn't have to do that until the last pack. And that's the thing about Krennic, why I think he's so good, is as long as you get a lot of Imperial units, and of course the Overwhelming Barrage is a super good card in that deck as well.
Yeah.
I also had the luck that I got past an Overwhelming Barrage in the second pack, I think. So I had 2 in my deck.
2 of them. That's crazy.
So I was really certain I would play green-black.
Yeah.
But then if you just get a lot of Imperial units, he's super good. And because in when you play limited, you don't have an optimal deck like you have in Premier.
No, of course.
When you play Premier, you want, like on turn 2 you want to play a 2-drop, like a 2-cost unit on turn or turn 1. On turn 2 you want to play a 3-drop and so on. So you don't always have 1 resource extra to put an experience token on an Imperial unit from Tarkin. But in limited, you don't have the choice always to use all your resources. So essentially, that if you use all but 1 resource in a turn, you don't waste that resource with Tarkin, because you can just give a unit. Exactly. Yeah, you can use that resource. So you use your resources maybe better than your opponent.
And it's also like your deck is almost only Imperial troops, which makes it really good for Tarkin, because you can put on all the troops, you can put an expert.
It doesn't matter what unit I have out. Almost I have 2 steadfast battalions and 1 reinforcement walker. Yeah. I think that's not a
So that is also a thing that if I look at my deck, there are like Underworld, Rebel Trooper, Force Rebel Spectre, Fringe, Trooper, Vehicle Walker, Underworld, Rebel. It's like there's all over the place. I didn't even think about
those. In your deck you don't have to think about it.
No, of course, but I didn't even think about it when I started.
Yeah.
So it was like it was not in my mind.
That's a few leaders. Like makes you think about it. And Tarkin is one of them, because if you want to play Tarkin, you need to have Imperial units in your deck. You faced a Leia player, and the Leia wants rebel units in her deck. Yeah, so that player probably tried to pick a lot of rebel units. So that's a way to do. But then and some other tips and tricks. I usually, in the start of the game at least, if I get past a really good card, I try to like take a moment and really think about what that means, and maybe look at the leaders of the players to my left to see if they, like when they pass me an Overwhelming Barrage. I'm quite certain they're not playing green-black.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I have a hard time thinking about what card they could take before an Overwhelming Barrage. So that's a way to maybe get a hint of what the other players are taking, which colors.
Yeah, or at least what colors they're not using.
That's a small tip. Yeah, that's the colors that's passed to you.
Yeah.
And of course, it's important to not focus too much on expensive cards. You really need to have a lot more early and cheap cards than you need the late game cards, because if you don't have any cards to play in the first 2-3 turns, you're gonna lose the game. So don't get like, oh, this is a good 8 cost, and the next card that's sent to you is, oh, here is another good 9 cost. You can't only pick like the good cards. You need to take the little two drops that's not so fun to draft, but you need a lot of them in your deck.
I did
So
opposite because
that's
I had none that was over 5 until you told me to put in the Avenger, which is 9. So
yeah.
You need to have some expensive cards, but I understand not focus too much on them. You need the cheaper ones for sure.
Yeah, of course you need some late games as well, because otherwise you can't face your opponent will run over you when you get to like 7-8 resources.
Maybe you have told me that at some point, and that was in my mind. It's like, take the cheap ones, and I like overdid it in my head.
Yeah, probably. I think that's maybe one of the tips that if someone asks like what should I think about, almost everyone says, don't forget to take the early drops, because if you don't do that, you're certainly gonna lose. If you don't,
because you can't
play
keep
cards,
up.
you're gonna lose. You can't keep up.
True.
And I mean, if we really want to do well in a draft, a tip is to go through the cards in the set, of course. If you know what's in the set, you know what you're able to draft, you know what to expect. That makes a lot of difference. And for me, that know Spark of Rebellion really well, and I've drafted it so many times. It's a much easier for me to draft that set than it is for you. You haven't played a lot with the cards and you haven't drafted it, so you don't really know what to expect, what cards can be good for you or bad for you, or
I don't even know if because I started playing when set 3 came out, and so I don't really know when I play cards now. I don't know which set they come from, if they come from 1 or 2 or 3. I don't really know. 3, I'm kind of familiar with those because I've done the pre-releases, so 2 pre-releases. So I got a little bit of a feeling for what's in there, but I have no clue what's in like the first 2 sets. Like so it was harder to do the draft on this set, the Spark of Rebellion, than the last time I did a draft when I did it on Twilight of the Republic, because that was a little bit easier for me, because then I had done 2 pre-releases before. So knowing the set
again, I mean, it can be really fun to go in blind as well,
of course,
in a draft, and not really knowing what to expect, and just it's like almost chaos. And
was a lot of fun.
So that could be fun. But if you like want to do well in a draft, know the cards in the set.
For sure.
That's a good
that's a good one. So you have like 5 bullets here. One is don't lock in too early, keep open and see what's coming. The other one is like, look at what cards are coming, if they're, and think about what that means, if there's,
especially when you get like past a really good
card, like you were past the overwhelming barrage of, like, what does that mean? And then the third one was that you get a feeling for the leaders over the time. If you do it a couple of times, you get a feeling what leaders are good at drafting and not. Because I think I asked you at some point, I was like, is Tarkin a good leader? Because I was thinking maybe I should play that, and then you were like, no, it's not. But it's good in draft, but it's not as strong as Premier.
I mean, he's not bad in Premier. There is a deck, Tarkin Yellow, that's been doing well, or at least it did well in the first set meta, I think. So he's not a bad leader, but it's just that he hasn't gotten a lot of new cards in set 2 and 3 because he needs Imperial cards. So I guess a lot of other leaders gotten more to put in their decks. I think Tarkin can be a really good leader if, for instance, in set 4 now, he gets a lot of new Imperial cards, maybe a lot of vehicle cards and such. He could be a really good leader, I think, because his ability is good. if you use it right. But in draft specifically, he's a really good leader.
Really good. Okay, so know the leaders. That was the third one. The fourth one was not to focus too much on expensive cards. You also need to have you need a lot of cheap cards because you need to.
Yeah, you need more cheap cards than expensive cards.
Even if the expensive one looks really good, it's not good to have too many.
Even if it's tempting to take the really good expensive cards all the time, but if you do that, you won't have anything to play in the beginning, in the start.
Yeah. And then the fifth one was if you really want to succeed in draft and get good at it, you need to know the sets you're playing in. So, for instance, when we were playing Sparkle Rebellion now, if you really know the cards in that set and the leaders in there, then it's easier and you can do a better job in drafting. So that's 5 good points.
Yeah,
I think.
It is. I think so as well.
I will try to take this with me in the next draft, whatever we are doing.
Yeah, I should do that. Yeah. So I could just go through what I faced in the draft.
Yeah,
so
it
was a very diverse draft. I faced you. How you went Han Solo blue the first game, then you changed
immediately.
Then in my second game, I faced a Grand Inquisitor blue deck, and in the last I faced a Boba red.
Boba red.
So if you like Boba, it's a way to play Boba is to draft Sparkle Rebellion.
That's true.
I had my deck. I don't know how good it is if you compare it to other drafts, but in this draft, my deck was really good compared to the other decks.
Yeah.
And so I had quite fast games.
Yeah. So did you?
I have one more tip that's actually we can put in there. It's a good tip. It's in most drafts, if you see removal cards, they're usually good to take.
Yeah.
Maybe even if they're not in the color you're thinking you're gonna play. Because
like you took the Vanquish.
Depending on which set, how many removal cards and what type of removal cards there is in the set, they can be really powerful if you can remove big units from your opponent. And by taking the removal, the other players don't get it as well. So your bigger units are, because you're all drafting from the same pool of cards. So it's like a double win if you take the removal cards from the set.
Even if you can't use it, take it so the others can't use it.
yeah. Sometimes that makes sense. That's also good, and you could put it in your deck even if it's not in your color. Always
like you did with Vanquish.
That's exactly why. Yeah.
All right, that's good. That's drafting.
That's drafting.
Really interesting and a really fun way to play the game, and I really enjoy that.
And I mean it's a good way to build your collection as well for new players.
For sure.
You have some fun while playing with the boosters you open. So
for sure.
Limited is really good for introducing new players to games, I think.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with the limited modes, both the sealed and the drafted. And I mean, I got a lot of cards from you. But it's nice now when I open boosters and we do the drafts, because then I get cards that I don't have, like the Avengers. Like, oh my god, it's a cool card. So it's a lot of fun.
That's a super good card. That's a nice card.
Yeah, so maybe I need to find a blue-black deck to play.
Yeah, why not?
All right. So we have one thing that will be a little bit of a standing thing in this podcast. And I mean, it's called Always Tell Me Dots. So we are going to do that. So Magnus, I have a question for you. And let's see if you can tell me dots. So there is a guy in Star Wars called Ralcius Paldora. He's a Galactic Emperor specialist, but he was deserting later on, apparently. But he said that the stormtroopers across the galaxy, they have a superb aim, and they are Imperial specialists in shooting. So, do you know what?
I mean, from what I've seen in movies, I think he's wrong. Maybe.
Okay. So, but what do you think he said in percentage? How likely is it that a stormtrooper will hit its target?
So, what's the odds a stormtrooper hits
Hitting
his
the target? Exactly.
In percentage.
In percentage.
I mean, according from my experience of watching all of the movies and stuff, I'd only put it at like 5%, maybe.
I mean, I share the same memory as you because they are shooting all over the place, but that's unfortunately wrong. You are really far off. So Ralsus Paldora, the thing is that he was a Galactic Emperor, a specialist in the Galactic Empire, but he was deserting. But he estimates that the stormtroopers hit 77% of the times they shoot.
That can't be right.
That must be propaganda, right?
Yeah, it must be.
Crazy. If you watch the movies again and count, are they really hitting 77%?
That must be far off. But
crazy.
I can imagine the Empire wants people to believe that the stormtroopers hits
probably.
That much.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. All right, we need to wrap it up here. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And as we said before, we opened a Discord server. There will be links in the show notes. And also the 2 decks we'll be talking about today, there will be links to those so you can look at them. And also if you want to visit the episode and listen to it, you have them there. And maybe, I was thinking maybe we should try... I play your list and you play my list and see what experience, if that makes a difference. Because sometimes I have a feeling that even if I have a really good deck and you have a really lousy deck, I will still lose because I am so inexperienced. That would be fun.
It would be fun to try. I think it's going to be hard for me to win with your deck in this case, but it could be fun to try.
Yeah, it could be interesting. And also, I was thinking as if listeners have decks that they were like, yeah, can you play those 2 decks against each other, the newbie against experienced player? That would be fun. So we could do something like that and talk about that.
Yeah, please come give us things to talk about,
exactly.
and things to try out, and just give
feedback and ideas.
Feedback, ideas. Yeah, that's what the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
All right.
Ideas. That's good.
So this is the podcast. Always Tell Me the Odds. It's a podcast about Star Wars Unlimited. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Appreciate it. So until next time, bye-bye.
See you guys.